Okay, now we're being recorded. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, I present you with this flag. Thank you very much for your father's service.
Debbie, this is the one with all the music, which is not going to be helpful to me. This is Cantor Dean's Chazin's manual that he used for everything, for weddings, for funerals. It has his own writing in it, things that he wrote and composed in here, as well as standards that are used. And the beginning has some tefillot that we will say to begin the service. And the family is kind enough to lend this to me just for the day. It's a prized possession of theirs, and understandably so. Just a reminder that here there'll be one eulogy delivered by Cantor Dean's son, Ronnie, and then we will do the burial, and then we will reconvene at 1 p.m. for a few more eulogies and perhaps the opportunity for some friends and loved ones, members of the congregation and others, to briefly share some words of tribute in honor of Cantor Dean. We come together today to give kavod acharon, to give final honor to our dear, beloved, cherished Cantor Irving Dean, Yitzchak ben Harav Binyamin. He didn't really tell a lot of folks that his father was a rabbi, by the way. Father of Ronnie, Debbie and Rick and Sherry, grandfather to Lara and Lisa, great-grandfather to Caleb, Aiden, Ishai, and Shiloh, uncle, cousin, family member, and friend. I'm going to begin with the recitation of Psalm number 23, Tehillim Chaf Gimel. You have it in English in the book that was handed out. And after we do the Hebrew, you're welcome to join me in the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, Binotesha Yarbitzeini, Almei Menuchot Yinahaleni, Nafshi Yeshovev, Yancheni B'magle Tzedek, L'man Shemo, Gam Ki Elech B'geit Salmavet, Lo Irara Ki Ata Imadi, Shiftecha Umishantecha, Heima Yinachamuni, Taroch Lefanai Shulchan, Neget Sorarai, Dishanta Vashemen Roshi, Kosi Rivaya, Ach Tov Vachesed Yirdefuni, Kol Yemei Chayai, Vishavti Beveit Adonai, Leorech Yamim. Please join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Just doing another sound check. Pearl, can you still hear us? Thank you.
So I wrote a lot of notes and I started typing them. And I just gave up. This man had an enormously full and long and very fulfilling life in service to others. So I'll speak about that in a minute. But before beginning our remarks, I want to personally thank my sisters Debbie and Sherry and my brother-in-law Rick for doing so much every day over the past years to take care of our beloved father, and in Rick's case, father-in-law. I also want to thank my daughter, Lara, for not only flying in from New Jersey, but also for her years of love, and friendship, much more. She had in a mostly telephone-based but powerful relationship she developed with Dad, or Pop, as the kids like to call him. For myself, after moving away to Florida years ago, I continued to talk to Dad frequently. He loved telling the stories from the war to Kazana's issues to a lot of stuff. He loved that and the jokes. It was a wonderful experience. But over time, my love and respect for him grew and grew and grew more as I realized how much he had dedicated his entire life to others. Now that we're about to bury this wonderful man next to the love of his life, our mom, Millie, of blessed memory, it's our hope that those who knew Cantor celebrate his life by continuing the good works he spent so many years dedicating all of his waking hours to doing. We all thank God for the amazing life that Dad had, that God granted him, and what he was able to accomplish for others for so many years. a little bit of history, just so you guys have it and it's recorded. My dad's father came over from Poland. He had his family in Poland. 4 brothers preceding my dad were born there. My dad was born in New York. But the name Dienstag, which is originally Dad's name, came from somewhere. When my grandfather was in Russia and he was escaping the Tsar's persecution, basically conscripting all young men to go into the army forever, he ran away to Poland. He got there, ended up in a little town called Mielec, spelled and pronounced differently in Polish, where he went to the rabbi and he said, "I'm here, I'm running away, what do I do?" So he gathered all the elders and they met in the basement of the shul and they talked for a while and they said, "Okay, we'll take care of him, we'll make sure he's good, but his name has got to change," because it was a Russian sounding name, something like Moltashov, but we're not sure. Okay. So somebody in the back said, "You know what? It's Tuesday. Let's just call him Dienstag," which is Tuesday in Yiddish. So that's where the name Dienstag began for the entire family from then on. Put this over here. I'm just going to skip around. So when my grandfather, his father, came over, he came over alone to work and earn money so he could bring the rest of the family over eventually. He did that. They moved, they were in New York, and that's where my dad was born, Lower East Side of New York, Manhattan, and that's where he grew up. Born into a Hasidic family, because the tradition of my grandfather was following what's called the Melitzer Rebbe, and it was a special place and a special moment in his life. So he continued to follow him even in New York, or moved over to New York. And his father recognized that my dad had some talent, something going on with music. How? So when he was a little kid, there's a tradition in the Hasidic community that Friday nights, everybody goes to the Rebbe's Tish, the table where they all have whatever they have, and they sing Nigunim and Smiros and do whatever they need to do. But as a little kid, he used to go all the time, and he really caught on to this. And my grandfather recognized this and said, "You know what? Music is your thing," and he got him music lessons. He got him the ability to learn chazanas as a little kid, and Dad eventually ended up in the choir of the most famous shul in New York at the time, called the Romanische Shul, where all the famous cantors from around the world used to come in and perform, because this was a big place for them. And he was in the choir backing up these famous cantors. He even sang in the choir that was supporting Yossele Rosenblatt, one of the most famous cantors in the world. So he grew from that, continued studying music, and into the teenage years, there was this thing in New York called the Education Alliance, which is basically at the time, a Lower East Side thing. Now it's got a different name, and where Jewish kids could go and learn music and theater and do things with the community. And it was there that he also decided he loved acting. He got into plays. He was written up in the New York Times for his major role in the Mikado. It was a big deal. But at the Educational Alliance, that's where he met Mom. She was already a pretty well-known singer on radio in New York as a kid, and she helped support her family through the Depression because of that. So they met, started dating, and eventually decided they wanted to get married. Well, along comes the war, And he's, you know, went into the army, etc. And before shipping out, he married Mom, and went off to do what he did in World War II, which is very long and very significant. And I won't bore you with all of it, but the army and his service was a very important part of his life. He was in Normandy, Battle of the Bulge, a variety of other things. They came back after the war. Mom and he was on radio together. They did concerts and eventually moved on. So as is always the common thing in the Jewish religion, various congregations hired chazan for the high holidays. San Antonio knew about my dad. Somebody listened to him and they said, we want him to come down. In San Antonio, did the high holidays. They loved him. They offered him a job. That's how we ended up in San Antonio in 1950 and stayed there for roughly 10 years until Arach Emeth made him an offer he couldn't refuse. You know, a better deal and a house and all that. So we moved to Houston in 1960. Long story short, Dad continued his work forever on a day-by-day basis. As I said in a obituary that I wrote that's now being published, he did his own version of Tikkun Olam, his own little tweak on it, which means improving the world, where he tried to improve the world, you know, one student at a time, one wedding at a time, one funeral at a time. His goal was to make all of these things a celebration of the person's life. So today, while it's a sad occasion, and he lived an enormously fulfilling life, contributing to so many organizations, the concerts that they did and what the work he did in the show and teaching and from Montessori school to the regular, amazing work. His main focus was on one by one improving somebody's life face to face. He was a very soft-spoken, kind, gentle man who never raised his voice, was very, very kind to everyone and very humble at the same time. What I would like to suggest is that while it's a sad occasion, we should all celebrate his life. And by that, I mean, those of us that can celebrate his life by doing good works, either in his honor or just continuing the tradition of what he used to do, I think that would go way far in the lesson. So that's my subject matter. I have tons of notes, but I'm not going to speak for hours. It's a limited amount of time. Just God bless my dad and the wonderful, wonderful father, and to all of us, Debbie, Sherry, you know, great father-in-law Rick, just an amazing person. So, thanks.
We have one more late edition. Cantor Dean's granddaughter, Lara, is going to speak now. And then we're going to commence with the burial. And another reminder that at 1 o'clock, everyone's invited back onto the Zoom, where I will deliver a eulogy for Cantor Dean, and we'll have the opportunity for some of you as well to share your thoughts. Please feel free on this Zoom, as well as the one later, to add your thoughts into the chat, which are also being recorded and will be shared with Cantor Dean's family.
Just wanted to say that in the past number of years, I realized how wonderful my grandfather was. You know, I lived very far from him my whole life and got to visit occasionally, but as an adult, you know, I heard from you guys here and, my people on Facebook, all the people who comment, about Pop throughout the years, just, it's unbelievable how many people thought he was just the best. And the thing that was the most incredible to me is that he was always the most non-judgmental, kindest, humblest man. And he had the most incredible voice I've ever heard. And he just was so humble about it, and when he spoke with my children, and I'm sure all of your children, he just had so much patience. If a kid was struggling to learn the trop or something, he just sat there with such kindness. And it's rare to find, for lack of a better words, an old man with so much patience. And he just was always smiling and never had a bad word to say about anyone. And I just am going to miss him very much. And I know that you all will too. And I just want to say here that, Pop, I love you and I'm going to miss you. And thank you to the community for taking care of him. All of you were such amazing friends to him and Mom and my dad and my aunts and uncle. And, just thank you for honoring him the way that you did. I know that he's going to look down at all of us and take care of all of us forever. So thank you.
Laura, just following up on that, I think, when I'm teaching bar and bar mitzvah kids, I'm going to have a bracelet. It says WWCDD. What would Cantor Dean do? Whenever I feel like I'm going to, break, I'll look at that, because that's a theme of my comments as well. I also, you mentioned that the community did take care of him, and that is true. And that's because we learn in Pirkei Avot, Ezehu mechubad, hamechabed et habriot. Who is the one who is honored? The one who honors other people. He never asked for honor. He never sought it. He ran from it, actually, but it just came to him naturally because he gave it to everybody else. More about that later. We're going to move on to the burial now. I just want to give some instructions to those who are here and who would like to help with the burial. We're going to have one shovel on that side and one shovel on this side. We're going to have hand sanitizer on both sides. Please make sure to use hand sanitizer or put on gloves, which we also have, before taking the shovel to put earth in the grave. Please do not pass the shovel from person to person. This is not a COVID precaution. This is a Jewish burial custom that we do not pass the heavy burden of burying someone on to someone else. If someone wants to do it, they take the shovel by themselves. When the casket is covered, we'll conclude with another chapter of Tehillim, Kel Mali, the memorial prayer, followed by the special Graveside Kaddish. I would like to ask 4 volunteers to come forward to lower the casket. You're going to have to lift the casket's weight and slowly lower it. We're going to ask you to put hand sanitizer on before you do that as well. Take this, leave it on that side. Rob. Someone else. We need one more over here and one over there. Yeah, hold on 1 second, please. Okay, what you need to do is lift it. Let out the slack of the roll. Max, let the slack out. Yeah, set it down. You're just going to let the string slide through your hands. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3, lift. Okay, hand the straps, please. Thank you. Everyone's welcome to line up. Just keep distance and please use hand sanitizer before coming forward.
Afterwards, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
There are 72.
Wow.
Oh, strong kid.
You broke the shovel?
Stephen, take the other side.
Bring in a truck.
I don't think everyone has to say this, but maybe Ron should be real. See the cabin. Decided to stand up if you can. Maybe say it in English. So your sister's over here.
Okay, but to start at the top?
Yeah, just to yourself.
Oh.
Just for the three of you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Absolutely. The rock. Purpose is God for all time. Not of faith or having it to be right. Spirit. The rock. Perfect in every word. You can tell God what to do. Really have your faith goes down to certain ways. The rock is perfect. God, whose word the Lord be served in this world, in the merit of him, who is bound of the land, hearken and hand, righteous one of all ways, the rock of the perfect, go to him that built spare parents and children.
Just an update for those who are watching on Zoom. We are, as soon as everyone here is finished placing earth in the grave, we're going to ask the cemetery workers just to cover the casket, and then we'll conclude with the Tehillim, Kail Maleh, and Kaddish.
It doesn't matter.
You know, Lord, you're good. You're right. Soul of all living power, have mercy on the remnant of the daily angels that hold back the waiting for your eye will open all the way to
You are 72. Thank you. Guys?
All right there.
You can't see it. It's turned the other way.
Oh, Tracy Aarons. That's the lady that helps him.
Okay, so we want to just cover them up.
Very nice. We're all getting older. It's hard to cover this anymore.
Okay.
Yes,
Do you want to go over what the market price is?
sure. Uh, I'm gonna put these up there. Finish. Gonna do it here or there? Okay. What?
Thank you.
So there.
Okay, my dear friends, we're going to conclude the service now.
Sit down. Let's see where did we put those?
I just let me get the new one.
Oh, you had papers right here on the floor.
We're going to conclude with the recitation of another chapter of Tehillim,
Okay.
followed by memorial prayer, and then followed by the family's recitation of the special Graveside Kaddish. Shir Lamalo Desai Nail Heharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Yosei Shamayim Ba'aretz Al Yitain Lamot Raglecha Al Yanum Shomrecha Hine Lo Yanum V'Lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yaminecha Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka V'Yareach Balayla Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ra Yishmor Et Nafshecha Adonai Yishmor Tzeitcha Uvoecha Me'ata V'Yad Olam El Malei Rachamim Shochein B'Meromim Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei Hashchina B'Malot Kedoshim U'Tehorim Kizohar Harakia Mazirim Et Nishmat Hechazan Yitzchak ben Harav Binyamin Shehalach Liolamo Ba'avur Shanachnu Mitpalalim Bi'ad Haskarat Nishmato Bigan Eden Tehei Menuchato Lachein Balarachamim Yasirehu V'Seiter Kinafav Liolamim V'Yitzror B'Tzror HaChayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. I'm going to kindly ask the family to please rise for the recitation of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah v'alma dehu atid l'itchadita v'la'achaya metaya v'la'asaka v'chaye olma u'lemivnei karta d'Yerushalem u'leshachlel hechalei b'gava u'leme'ekar pulchana nuchra'a me'ara u'le'atava pulchana dishmaya le'atra v'yamlich kutsha b'richu b'malchutei v'karei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivorach Liolam Uliolmei Olmaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitba'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudesha B'richu Ve'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata tushbichata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'mromav Huya aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. My dear friends, before we conclude this part of the service, I want to thank Jeff Klein from UOS for helping to make all the arrangements, making sure that we have shovels, because at this point the cemetery workers are not sharing shovels, and for sending out the emails and for arranging for the Zoom. I want to thank Jose and his crew for always being helpful, and I want to thank Levy Funerals and Eric Bishop for their kind and accommodating help as well. All that's left for us is to send the mourners off to begin the period of mourning. We do that by forming two lines facing each other. I think let's do it right over here. Please maintain, families just stay here. Please maintain distance as you form the lines, and as the family moves through the line, will be our opportunity to extend our condolences. Just 1 second.
I think over here might be.
Yeah, we're going.
It's wider.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, as the family makes their way through, everyone is invited to recite with me, Hamakom Yinachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Tzion Yerushalayim. May God comfort you amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Bila Hamaves Lanetzach. Umacha Adonai Elohim Dima Me'al Kol Panim V'cherpata Mo Yasir Me'al Kol Haaretz Ki Adonai Diber. Thank you very much, everyone. That concludes this part of the service. Again, a reminder, using the same Zoom link, everyone is invited back at 1 o'clock Central Time, which is approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes from now, for more eulogies and an opportunity to honor the memory of our beloved Cantor Dean. The family is grateful for all of you who joined by Zoom. They know that if possible, you would have been here in person, and they're grateful for the messages you shared in the chat and for your love. I'm going to end the broadcast now.